More midterm headaches for the Democrats. With 47 days to go, the party is once again desperately trying to distance themselves from radical policies that are poison at the ballot box, like defund the police. Moderate House Democrats let out a huge sigh of relief when they realized their months-long effort to pass a police funding bill will move forward despite the far left's attempts to sink it. Squad members refusing to back down on their anti-cop positions by stalling the vote earlier. And Republican Congressman Steve Scalise thinks Democrats will never be able to get rid of the defund stench.
It's unreal that months into talking about helping police, the Democrats still can't stand up and support law enforcement. Their party, at its core, is still embracing the defund the police crazy idea. But it's very telling that the Democrats will pay lip service to police, but when it comes time to back in the blue, they walk away because they don't support the police.
And why does this all matter? Well, voters backed Republicans by a whopping 23-point margin on dealing with crime, which has led moderates to spend millions in TV ads to appear tough on the issue.
Tim Ryan knows defunding the police is ridiculous. He's brought back $467 million to put good cops on the street. I trust Tim Ryan to keep our communities safe.
When I hear people talking about defunding the police, I know they're wrong. Police officers put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe, but it's our job to make sure they have what they need to do it. And that's a job I take personally.
In the Senate, I'll protect Florida from bad ideas like defunding the police. That's just crazy.
I worked side by side with the police, showed up at the crime scenes. We did whatever it took to fund our police.
All that comes amid a new report that reveals Americans have Googled topics Republicans do better on, like crime and Biden's border crisis, than topics that favor Democrats. All right, let's talk about the fact that it has taken months to get this legislation passed. There has been a back and forth among the Democrats between the liberals, the progressives, the middle guys, the end guys, all of them. And it looks like today it will pass, Dana. And it appears that their funding, these bills, are primarily going to smaller police departments. But every one of the bills has some kind of limitation of some sort on the police.
Well, it's sort of like Infrastructure Week was during the Trump administration. It was like every week was going to be Infrastructure Week. At the very beginning, when they lost, when the Democrats didn't win as many seats as they thought they would in 2020, the moderate Democrats said, we've got a problem. And one of our big problems is this defund the police narrative. So they could have passed this back in June and not had the entire summer of being branded as anti-police. They'll pass it today. One of the things is that, for example, smaller suburban and rural police forces are going to get some money in this. It just got 360 votes. And I understand that's just because they think that the big police departments tend to get the most money. So this will pass. I just don't think that it's going to do enough to change the branding that happened over the past 3 months. And it's also because they've still got the squad. They still got the statements. You still got the things that you can use. But it's also not just about the money. It's about the attitude towards police and them feeling like they have what they need, including the indemnification that they're asking for.
Well, you know, Jesse, this whole idea of the Democrats coming out now and trying to convince the public that, you know, we're tough on crime. And I really love Val Demings there in Florida. And even Fetterman, you know, Fetterman amazingly is trying some damage control because he called to free all of the second-degree murderers in Pennsylvania. And now he's got an ad saying he's tough on crime.
I'm not mad at my people from Pennsylvania. I'm just disappointed. He wants to turn loose the second-degree homicide people in prison. He said it's because if you look at what they've done in prison, then maybe we should give him a shot. And one guy, he said, learned yoga in prison, Judge.
Well, that's a reason to let him go.
So now he's limber enough to be turned loose on communities so he can murder again. He chased a black man around out of town with a loaded shotgun. Got a little pushback for that. So his response, I'm going to let out all of the second-degree murderers from prison. Like, he thinks he's going to repent to the black community by letting out murderers? Does he assume that all the murderers are black in prison? And does he assume that black Americans want murderers to be turned loose in their neighborhoods? The guy's a lunatic. There are two wedge issues in the country. You said it at the top. It's immigration and it's crime. And the Democrats are infighting on both of those issues, and Republicans have to push this hard. I can't even make sense on what they voted for. One of the bills provides grants aimed at reining in violence.
Right.
Do you guys know what they're talking about? I have no idea what they're talking about. Here's another one. Promotes use of mental health workers so they respond to incidents without police officers. You know what that is? You know what that is. That is a recipe for disaster. Yeah. I just don't understand. The real issue is these stupid DAs, these bad bail laws, and as you said, the culture that thinks prisons and police are racist. And if you want to go deeper, we can go deeper. It's about fathers that aren't there. It's about the quick bucks you can make from drug trafficking. And, you know, I don't think Congress is ready to address that at all.
You know, Jessica, the idea of having mental health people work in lieu of law enforcement, which is one of the bills, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's part and parcel of obviously having police officers on the street, but also understanding that a lot of the people who are making us feel unsafe, and we're going to talk about this later in the show as well, are people who are mentally ill. And there are things that can be responded to for people that are not traditional law enforcement. They're not carrying a gun necessarily. And we can have a multi-pronged system to try to push back on what's going on in mostly cities, but actually all over the country. In terms of, you know, the ads that are being aired, Val Demings was the first female police chief of Orlando. She's a very serious law enforcement official. She has an incredible record when it comes to being tough on crime. That's completely authentic there. And Dana's right when you talk about what happened after the 2020 election. Whip Clyburn kicked it off. Your favorite, Abigail Spanberger, talked about this as well. And moderates were very clear. But what I find interesting is that it was only 4 or 5 liberals that were pushing back on these bills. The Progressive Caucus is actually quite large. And there were a lot of people who you would normally suspect were going to be, you know, against these bills or want to tinker with them, and they were all for it. So obviously Democrats understand that this is a serious issue for us going into the midterms, and one just more generally in terms of keeping our country safe.
Well, in the end, Greg, I mean, the Dems have to try to distance themselves from the last 2 years. Is it going to work?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Our DA here, Alvin Bragg, helped get a rapist out, I think, in just after doing 30 days. And what did he do? He sexually assaulted 5 people, right? So that's what you're up against. As a rule, though, you should never criticize people when they finally do what you want them to do, you know. But I'm talking about the Democrats finally being tough on crime. But sadly, they aren't doing it for humanitarian reasons. They're doing it for political reasons. And why does that matter? It matters because it could have been done sooner. And thousands upon thousands of lives could have been saved if it was done sooner. And the reason it wasn't done sooner is that there wasn't a political need in their head that says, you know, we got to get this done. Yeah, people are getting killed, but, you know, they're those people. You know, it says criminals killing criminals. It's not a big deal. It's really not that way. But it makes you wonder, if you want to get Democrats to care about crime victims, you almost have to have elections every month. You know what I mean? Put them online, because then they'll only care about crime, because without political pressure, they don't give an F. They just laughed at people like us when we've been talking about this stuff for 2 years, right? We would bring it up. People would laugh at us, literally laugh at us about talking about crime, that the numbers were wrong. I remember having this discussion. It still makes my blood boil. And now, 2 years later, when it's a political issue, right? A political issue, now they give a damn. I pat them on the back for finally joining the club, but there's a lot of dead people that aren't here right now because you didn't think it was worth it.
I'm not patting them on the back.
Good for you, Jesse.
It is good.
Neither are the dead people.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.